The following is a presentation of TFNN. The Morning Market Kickoff with your host, Tommy O'Brien. Now, Tommy O'Brien.
Good Friday morning, everybody. I'm Tommy O'Brien, coming to you live from TFNN just after 9 a.m. Eastern Time, about 24 minutes to go until the opening bell, and markets looking to finish out a strong week. S&P's right now up 0.2%, trading up 14 points at 59.47. NASDAQ 100, we're up by 53, or about 0.25%, 21,454. Dow up 0.25% as well, up 103 points, 42,488. And the Russell up by about 0.5%, or 11 points. Now, boy, we jump around. How about yields yesterday? So much for 4.5%. We're under 4.4 right now. Let's pull up the number. We got yields up another 12 ticks. And you see, from the lows we had yesterday, you're spiking right now at 110.20. And yeah, we're just below 4.4. So 24 hours ago, we were sitting about 4.51. So you have the 10-year coming down 11 basis points over that period of time. You jump over to the dollar, TXY. And at that same time, we're right back to where we were Sunday. The dollar accelerates to 102. You give back some of that action. We're chopping around where we were basically for most of the part of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, now Friday. Dollar just above 100. We put things back to a daily. Looks like we might come back and test that 100 point yet again. You take a look at the 10-year on a daily. And yeah, as it says, 4.4 down from 4.51 24 hours ago. That is a bounce, but not a change of trend just yet. We've seen every time we've had some bounces on this, you've traded lower for this month from May 1st, and right now we get the 10-year at 4.4. We'll call it 4.4. Now, gold. Continuing to struggle here for gold. Check out the gold contract right now. You talk about volatility, right? Since Wednesday, how about down $140, up $140, and down $100? Gold, extreme volatility, but right now, in light of what we have happening in the dollar and in yields, yeah, you're right back to where we were on April 2nd in the gold contract. Okay? And for some context here, that's April 2nd in the dollar. Okay? So you've had the dollar go from 104 to just under 100. You've had dramatic weakening. And at the same point, gold's just back to that high of April 2nd. Now, we had volatility. 3,000 looks like it might be in the cards for gold. It's been a heck of a run. But yeah, even in the face of the dollar, when you get that type of a little bit of weakness, right, you have yields pulling back 11 basis points. Okay, we're just chopping back to where we were in gold. Under 3,200 now, and we are actually under the highs of April 2nd on that gold contract, just as we were on yesterday's volatility as well. We jump over to the VIX volatility index. Yeah, a lot of volatility getting sucked out of this market. As you get the VIX right now, sitting at 1745. And yeah, looks like we're on our way to the March levels. And if you correlate that to the market, right, you see the ebb and flow. You see that first acceleration into the middle of March when it got us up to 30. You pull back. We're coming in. The low there was 1702 in March. And remember, that's when you got that first acceleration, right? That's this leg of the acceleration. Got us back up to the 25th. Volatility subsided, and then boom. Not sure how volatility subsided ahead of Liberation Day. Market got a little bit complacent in the short term, but nonetheless, all it took was 30 days. All right. Jump around to what we have going on in this market right now. Yeah, this one's a big one. Charter. They're going to combine with Cox, $35 billion cable deal. Charter's going to open up $10. You see the volatility there. Was it Cox? Yeah. CHTR is Charter. I don't know. Does that one pull up? Where do they trade? Yeah, COX. Nonetheless, they're going to combine. The cable industry shaking things up continually. At $34 billion. This one's an interesting one from Microsoft. So Microsoft, right as they're taking Skype out of the equation, they're going to Teams. One of the offers they're making to the EU is that they'll sell Office without Teams to placate EU regulators. We'll see how that plays out, but Microsoft stock, no real action, slightly off from 453 to 452 so far this morning. You had Amazon trading lower yesterday. You're going to be opening higher by about $1 this morning. We jump over to Apple shares this morning, slightly in the green with the market by about 50 pennies. We jump over to Tesla. Tesla catches a bid, up by $4 to $346 this morning. NVIDIA up a couple dollars, pushing the highs of yesterday. NVIDIA not stopping, up 136.44 right now. And you jump over when you talk about NVIDIA and you talk about CoreWeave. And yeah, how about almost $1 billion? NVIDIA owns almost $1 billion. And remember, when CoreWeave went public, the only way they were able to go public was when NVIDIA stepped in with a huge order of something like $250 million or $500 million. $250 million order. NVIDIA steps in. So they've got $1 billion position, but guess what? All things considered, you're talking about a company right now that is valued at $3.3 trillion. So $900 million is not going to change things in either direction, but nonetheless, it's tantalizing. It'll get some clicks. And yeah, if you're trading NVIDIA, know that you have a $1 billion position in CoreWeave that's incorporated into that equity. Is it Core? CRWV? Not bad when you look at it, right? The only way they get the company public is by anchoring a deal at $40 each. And meanwhile, they're already up to 65. They've made $25 on that position. Is that 60% or something like that? Not a bad deal in the short term. The deal about CoreWeave, though, if you remember when that IPO goes public in March, man, they got a lot of outdated chips, right? You always want to think about what part of the cycle a company is going public in. They're not, the astute investors, private equity in those deals, they're not going to launch a company public where they've just spent a lot of money, their earnings are on the decline, now they're going to reap it. No, they're going to launch the company public when they've maximized the value for the capital expenditure they have, when they're going on a cycle where they're probably going to have to spend a lot, their earnings might come down, optimism might be all-time highs. Nonetheless, this market, it's on fire. So yeah, April, a tough month to go IPO, but guess what? The market comes roaring back, and the CoreWeave up to $65 from their IPO, around $40. Some of the other, look at AMD's not stopping, man. Up another up another $3 to $118 in the pre-market right now. We jump over to UNH that's been getting pummeled, getting a little bit of a bounce, up about $8 to $282 from $248 low yesterday on UNH. And yeah, you jump over to the VIX, 1744 this morning. Yeah, since the March when the market was peaking out. All right, folks, stay tuned. We're coming back Friday trading. We'll be right back in 3 minutes. Don't go away. If you're looking for potential trading setups in the stock market, then Rocket Equities and Options Report is a newsletter you should try. Tommy O'Brien delivers options and equity trades when the markets present them, using a combination of fundamentals and technicals. Sign up for Rocket Equities and Options Report today with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to risk. For all the details and to start your subscription today, visit the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
In the world of trading, only a few names stand out like Larry Pesavento, a pro's pro with over 50 years of experience. Larry has seen it all. A former Chicago Mercantile Exchange member, Larry has authored 10 books and trained over 1,000 traders with his unmatched expertise. Introducing Fibonacci 24/7, Larry Pesavento's daily trading service that turns the complexity of markets into opportunities. Published every Sunday, receive a comprehensive report packed with detailed commentary, charts, and videos that illuminate the patterns shaping the markets, with updates throughout the week exclusively for subscribers. Whether through charts or videos, Larry's analysis is your roadmap to navigating the markets. You can sign up now at TFNN.com for just $97. And with all TFNN newsletters backed by a 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to risk. For all the details, visit TFNN.com. You'll find Fibonacci 24/7 right under the newsletters tab.
Building wealth trading in the stock market seems impossible to most people. They think it's too volatile and risky. Most people aren't going to take the time to educate themselves on how to do it right. But you're not most people, are you? At TFNN, you'll get the guidance you need to refine your strategies and techniques to invest like a pro. Because you'll be a pro. All TFNN subscriptions, books, software, and courses are available at TFNN.com. And I'm even going to tell you how to get them for less. Use TFNN's Tiger Dollars and you'll get up to a 20% bonus on your purchase. And once you apply them to your account, Tiger Dollars are automatically used for all future or recurring charges. Tiger Dollars also never expire, are fully transferable, and are a great way to add savings to your newsletters or services. Become the investor you were born to be at TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
TFNN has launched the Tiger's Den, hosted at Discord. TFNN has been educating traders for more than 20 years with live programming hosted by a variety of professional traders during market hours. The Tiger's Den, available to all tigers and tigresses for just $1 for the year. There's no catch or added costs when you join our community of traders. Sign up today and become a part of this educational community of traders. Just visit the front page of TFNN.com.
This portion of the Morning Market Kickoff is brought to you by Direxion's daily leveraged and inverse ETFs. Whether you're a bull or a bear, you choose the direction. Visit Direxion.com. Investing in the funds involves significant risk and should only be utilized by investors who understand the impact of leverage and actively monitor their portfolio. They are not designed to track the underlying index or security for more than a day. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risk, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at Direxion.com. Read carefully. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Welcome back, folks. S&P is up by 17 points right now. We got about 12 minutes to go until the opening bell. And you take a look at this volume. You know, as I got the commentary on the chart, relatively light. And we've been talking about this. And you don't have to compare it to the lows, folks, okay? You know, you have exacerbated selling. And you can. We got volume at the lows here, okay? But you don't have to compare it to these lows. The part of the chart, and I keep harping on it, man, but we're bumping up against the beginning of this, okay? And we had a level of volume that we haven't even touched yet to the upside. All this strength to the downside from late February to the lows of March 14th about in the S&Ps. You jump over to the NASDAQ 100. We did the same exact thing in the NASDAQ 100, and it would make sense. The tech stocks run the NASDAQ 100 much the same way they run the S&P 500 right now with their market weighting. Extreme levels of volume for a 3-week period from about February 27th until March 14th. Yeah, we're doing 730,000 plus contracts a day. We haven't traded 730,000 contracts since the day after April 9th. Okay, and we did it for 3 straight weeks. None of these days, and we've had some rip-roaring days. No, 600,000 contracts, 400,000 contracts. Meanwhile, we did it for 3 straight weeks, and not to say nobody was paying attention, but we weren't getting the types of headlines that you were getting on the sell-off down to 16,400, appropriately so, because the tariffs were there. But keep your eye on this range, man. Okay? That is an extreme level of continued, sustained volume to the downside, and we're coming into that area on fumes right now. You check out Amazon, not really the same situation, right? You had broad indice volume there. So there's going to be certain equities that were driving a lot of that action. And it's not some of the biggest equities coming up, so it's probably elsewhere. NVIDIA shares up by a couple dollars. All right, we've been talking about the home builders, right? Lennar, no real sustained strength just yet, but you could say some, abating the losses, as in we're consolidating here near about 100 and maybe 120. Lennar going to be slightly positive on the open. We had housing starts positive this morning, which is what we're going to go over. DR Horton up by about 50 pennies. But boy, all of these just making a base. You're making a base, though. I'm keeping my eye on them because you're getting them at half the price you were getting them at in September, which is remarkable. But the world has changed since September. Keep that one in mind. And I'm just not talking about, the magnificent tariffs. I mean, it's changed in that the dollar, the movement in, the yields, the presidency, the policies, the tariffs, the cost of importing lumber, everything that goes into a house, etc. But you jump over to housing starts, and especially multifamily. Multifamily construction, housing starts increased in April as a pickup in multifamily home construction offset a decline in single-family dwellings. All right. New residential up 1.6%. 1.36 million homes is the number. Advanced was driven by a 10.7% jump in multifamily housing, such as apartment buildings. Single-family homes down 2.1%, the slowest pace since July. Big single-family homes building permits, which is usually forward-looking, right? Decreased 5.1%. You got to get the permits, and then you start building in the months that go forward. Pretty obvious, but worth stating. Yeah. Now you look at, and this I'm obviously following the real estate folks market very closely, always. Okay. And you look at something like even in Tampa. Okay. So Tampa, and this is going on everywhere, folks. Okay. But you see data like that, it lines up with everything. I'm seeing it at St. Pete, of course, affordable housing, right? The ability. And you look at Tampa. So you're going to have pushbacks from the neighborhood, obviously. Not in my backyard applies everywhere. Don't fault this gentleman. He is not a fan of these zoning changes. But guess what? Somebody has to deal with the reality. And that's the tough part here, right? We all want, whether it's affordable housing, right? Mixed income housing. I think we're all for that. And the expression goes, not in my backyard, right? But somewhere it's got to be. So this is a great example of how this goes. And they're changing the zoning laws. They're voting on it at least. Hillsborough, County Planning Commission is reviewing potential changes at supporting growth over the next 20 years. Now, what this has to do with is the Hillsborough County Planning Commission said that within 20 years, they're expecting around 74,000 additional people. Where are they going to live? What are they going to do? 75,000 people, right? And so what they're looking at is expanding some of the zoning to allow basically more dwellings per an acre. Residential 10 category allows 10 dwelling units per an acre. And so, depending on how many get in there, and of course, neighborhoods, but just a small glimpse, right? And that's happening right now. I was reading that last week, this week. Yeah, May 12th. That's going on right now. And it's going on everywhere, folks. St. Pete, bunch of single families. But boy, you should see the building that we have going on in St. Petersburg right now in terms of the high rises. Absolutely remarkable what they're putting together. And you almost have to with the prices where they are right now. That's the difficult part of where rates are, right? Beautiful single family homes. That's not getting it done for many areas of the country when it comes to affordable housing, and the data lining up with that right now. And my take on that, right? Like even in Tampa, right? So I have a home in Tampa, in South Tampa, and you look at articles like that. So what's going to happen, though? That doesn't mean the market's going to pull back, okay? Separate the two, because especially for single families, you got to provide affordable housing, but then think about the separation, right? Then you're going to have the select few homes that are in those areas that are left out, as in you're talking about single family homes decreasing at a time we need homes, but it's going to be multifamilies, it's going to be apartments, it's going to be townhomes, which are very prevalent in St. Petersburg. And so the data lines up with that. It's happening everywhere in Florida, and I assume it's happening everywhere across the country. And the data lines up with it, right? Yeah, 10.7% jump in multifamily housing and 2.1% decrease in single family. Remember those numbers, folks. That is a number that's probably going to play out for a while. Now, the other remarkable part that you get into this, because now I have real hands-on experience running Tiger Construction, Tiger Real Estate, everything that goes with it, is, man, you see the difficulty and the regulations that go into these types of buildings. And so you get this deal where you can build up to 4 units in residential, folks, okay? If you ever have the ability, okay, you can, 4 units is residential. And if you're ever living in that place, you get a residential mortgage, okay? You can get a home. And listen, mortgage rates are still very hard to cash flow right now. And unless you can cash flow it, on both sides of it, you should be able to sell the property for what it will cost you, and you should be able to cash flow it. If you can't do that, right, then I'm not saying you're going to lose money, but boy, it might be a long time until you get that money back, right? If you're paying down equity, that's one thing on a yearly basis with a mortgage, but we're at a tough point in this market right now where many of those homes, you can't cash flow them, period. Yeah, especially if you're trying to sell them. Stay tuned, folks. We'll come back for the opening bell.
This year has already been a wild ride for the market. We started off heavily in the red, traversed back to all-time highs, and we now have a trade war looming. Trying to play this chop as an individual trader leads to death by 1,000 cuts. Where does this market go next? Should I add to this position or cut my losses? Where is the next opportunity? Tariffs, trade wars, analysis paralysis. Don't become a victim of this intense market. Instead, join Larry Pesavento over the 2nd and 4th Friday of every month for 3 hours of live trading. Larry has been through many markets just like this one, and the insight he provides is invaluable. The dates for this month are April 11th and 25th, 9 a.m. to noon Eastern Time. Get in here and let's start trading. TFNN, educating investors.
If you spend any time online researching trading techniques on how to begin your trading journey, you've no doubt come across many folks who push Forex trading as a way to make big money quickly. Unfortunately, there are equally as many stories of these so-called Forex professionals just looking to make a quick buck off aspiring traders without actually teaching the ins and outs of the Forex market. This is what sets Teddy Keckstack's The Tiger Forex Report off the riffraff. Every Monday, former Chicago Mercantile Exchange member and author Teddy Keckstack releases his Tiger Forex Report newsletter, where he dives into the complex world of Forex and takes time to actually teach you his methods that have made him so successful in the fast-paced and rewarding world of Forex trading. Furthermore, all subscribers receive access to archived live streams of Teddy's, where he provides university-level education to help you in Forex trading. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Forex awaits.
Steve Rhodes started his trading career as a student almost 20 years ago, and the student has now become the master. Steve won the prestigious Timer of the Year award in 2018 and barely missed that mark again in 2019, finishing at number 2 for the year. An amazing accomplishment. Steve Rhodes is committed to sharing his techniques and knowledge with anyone who wants to learn, and he shares his vast amount of trading knowledge every day in his Mastering Probability newsletter. Steve's award-winning newsletter, Mastering Probability, is delivered every trading day with updates throughout the afternoon. Sign up for Steve's market newsletter, Mastering Probability, and you'll receive access to 7 of Steve's educational webinars absolutely free. At TFNN, all our newsletters come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Visit TFNN.com and try Mastering Probability 30 days risk-free today. TFNN, educating investors.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV.
Welcome back, folks. We open up. S&P's up by about 9 points. NASDAQ 100 up by 43 this morning. Dow up by 22. And yeah, the market is coming into a positive week, and we are coming right into that 6,000 price point with volume dropping off a bit. You see Monday's volume, one of the biggest strengths we've had out there since that acceleration off April 9th. Monday, you do 1 point on the S&P's, almost 1.7 million contracts. Yesterday, you do 1.2. Day before that, 1.1. 1.2. So we'll see if we get some strength up here. But, as my dad used to say, it's running on fumes. But, man, market can run further, faster than you ever think, folks. Those are my, it can. Just always keep that in mind. Doesn't mean anything's going to happen. To put it lightly. All right. In terms of what else we have happening in this market. Yeah, Novo. So they ditched their CEO as the battle for weight loss drugs rages on, down by 2.8%. There's that acceleration, down to 64.31. And yeah, the headline out there, come on, there it is. Yeah, it was a mutual decision. But guess what? They got some issues going on at Novo. You take a look at this equity on a longer-term basis. How about that one, right? From 148 down to $60. And it was like, yeah, it's time to find somebody else. The board says we're down by 3% even on that turnaround. So they don't have a plan yet. Normally, you might be able to put a plan in place, right? I mean, look at that slide. They've had a year to do this, as it's been on, and you really back things up to December. Was when you accelerate, you go from 150 to $80. They got nobody in there. Usually, sometimes you replace that CEO, you bring somebody else in, you get a pop. No pop at all. They got no plan whatsoever. Speaking of no plan whatsoever, Take-Two Interactive. Look at this equity too, man. So they're coming out with GTA, Grand Theft Auto. Is it Grand Theft Auto 6? Next May. This feels like self-driving cars are coming in 2 years from Elon. But nonetheless, you look at it, up by 2.2% right now on Take-Two. And yeah, the news out there. And look, it was. I know. So they got their numbers out there, but the number talking about next May. And yeah, they're light on the numbers on this quarter because they don't have a video game to sell. Yeah, and there's your action last night. You get it all back by the open. Not bad. Up by 1.2% as the market gives it up a bit. Dow rolling over. Check this out. UNH back to negative territory right now. Walmart shares up by 0.6%. We jump over to some retail. Target in the positive by 0.8% right now. Not TJX. They're the usual bull, but hey, off by 0.3%. And then on the bear side, Kohl's. There you go. All right. Kohl's up by 3%. Check it out. Hey, that's a little bounce, man. From $6 to $8.60. Take a look at the volume, though, right? Man, you really want to see some buyers come into this thing. May 1st, you get a bounce on some volume. But, you look at this strength. What do we just trade from? 670 to 857 on relatively light volume of under 10 million shares. Think about it, folks. Under 10 million shares. If you're a trader out there, right? We're doing 6 million shares some days. The entire day of trading on Kohl's. So be careful on this equity, because that is not a lot of volume for a stock trading at $8. Right? Think about it. You can control the entire day's volume. Last Friday, 7.5 million shares at $7. 50 million bucks. You control the entire day's volume. And yeah, who has $50 million? Okay, but what public companies that are household names can you control the entire trading day's volume for $50 million? You throw some margin on there, $20 million. You drive all the action the entire day. And you can see how percentages on small numbers can be deceiving. Remember that, man. Percentages on small numbers can be deceiving, because guess what? This equity is up $2.50 off the $6 low. What is that? 40%? Almost $9 would be a 50% acceleration. Okay, but you look at that equity, you say, how am I stepping in right here? But nonetheless, we're catching a bid by 2.5% today on Kohl's. We'll jump around to airlines this morning. Delta down by about 0.25% right now. United down a percentage point. American slightly in the red as well. All right, the dogs are getting a little bit of a bid today. JetBlue up by 1.5%. We got JetBlue a winner. We got Kohl's being a winner today. Watch out. Even you got Target being a winner. Right? It's been a dog for sure. All right. And jumping back to that real estate real quick, folks. Okay. And this is a cool glimpse to see how this works. All right. Just because, I live and breathe this stuff a lot right now. And this is what the zoning map looks like in St. Petersburg. okay? They have a great system, very easy to follow, color-coded, teach you everything you need to know. All right, and if you're familiar with St. Petersburg, downtown St. Pete in particular, you have Central Ave, runs right down to the beautiful water, okay? So if you're looking at my screen right now, we have Central Ave right in the middle, okay? Here's the Trop, the Tropicana. Central runs right next to the Trop. It runs right from the water, okay? And it starts at 1st Street, and so the further west you go, right, 25th Street, you're going higher in the streets. Okay, so ideally more of the action near downtown, but there's obviously different areas as you move further inland, and then you get far enough and you start hitting the West Coast. You start hitting St. Pete Beach. But what's interesting here, okay, because I understand this area so particularly well, and we talk about some of those mixed multifamily homes, etc. So Central is where so much of the action is, right? And then you have what's called the Activity Center, okay? And the Activity Center basically encapsulates Central with some of the action further towards the area of the Trop. But the point being here, okay, is that when you roll over and you're talking about the permitted uses, so here's where this gets interesting, okay? Right on Central, which is where this light blue area is, okay? That's the action. That's Central, okay? That's where the biggest places are. That's where you can do the most building, and it would make sense. It's Central Ave, folks, right? That's where you're going to have a lot of the businesses, especially storefronts on street level. You're going to have, whether it's businesses above there, whether it's you can have housing above there. If you have affordable housing, there's more that you can do with it, etc. But the light blue here is called CCT2, okay? And let's see. So CCT2, all right, and when you get into it, and then you get into CRT2. Okay, and that's where it goes from, and let me get these exactly, commercial, residential, of course. One thing. All right, let me get these exactly. For corridor, commercial, traditional, okay? So the action in the light blue here is CCT2, which opens up a magnitude of possibilities of what you can do. But then when you get in here, what they do is, and it would make sense, right? You don't just go from Central Ave with all the action to single family homes on the next street. You got to do a transition, okay? And you know how that transition plays out? Well, you have residential traditional 2, and then you have residential traditional 1. And I'm just going to show you real quickly, and this is what's coming to different areas. And I'm not even talking, you know, a bunch of these starts are going to be big high rises like we have going on in St. Petersburg, folks. We'll pull up 400 Central. If you've never heard of it, pull up 400 Central. 400 Central, folks. It's at Central. It's at 4th Street, 400, right? Amazing. Amazing building, the size of what they're building in St. Pete. But we'll go over some of that. Markets in the positive. We'll come right back, folks.
Many trading newsletters attempt to focus on a narrow set of equities or commodities. While this works for some, it oftentimes misses many opportunities that possess huge gain potential. But how is an independent trader supposed to scan the entire market looking for these hidden opportunities? One simple answer: the opening call newsletter. Basil Chapman, developer of the Chapman Wave trading methodology, has been trading the markets for longer than most trading influencers have been alive. And over that time, he has honed his methodology in order to accurately call movements in a wide range of equities, from semiconductors to uranium to key indices and so much more. Basil is old school, taking the time to educate the trader while also giving his insights into key indices, selective stocks, and more. Opening call subscribers also receive access to dozens of educational live streams that can be accessed at any time for your edification. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So ignore the pop trading influencers and start learning time-tested technical analysis.
For traders who crave risk, Direxion's daily leveraged and inverse ETFs provide opportunities to magnify short-term perspectives with up to 3 times a daily leverage, utilize bull and bear funds from both sides of the trade, and trade through rapidly changing markets. These are highly leveraged ETFs with daily resetting designed for short-term trading, not long-term investing. Whether you're a bull or a bear, you choose the Direxion. For up-to-date pricing and performance, go to Direxion.com. Investing in the funds involves significant risk and should only be utilized by investors who understand the impact of leverage and actively monitor their portfolio. They are not designed to track the underlying index or security for more than a day. Before investing, carefully consider a fund's investment objective, risk, charges, and expenses contained in the prospectus available at Direction.com. Read carefully. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC. Are you ready to take charge of your financial future? TFNN is your gateway to the world of trading and investing. Whether you're starting out or scaling up, TFNN empowers traders and investors of all skill levels with top-notch investing systems, strategies, and techniques. It's time to protect and grow your money with insight you can trust. Join us live Monday through Friday during market hours for exclusive content that moves with the markets. At TFNN, we bring the trading floor to you. Our seasoned hosts are here to answer your calls and questions live on the air. Check out the Tiger's Den for just $1 and follow us on YouTube and become part of our vibrant community. And remember, at TFNN, we're so confident in the value we provide that we offer a 30-day money-back guarantee on all new premium newsletter subscriptions and services. You have absolutely nothing to risk, so why wait? Tune in live to Tiger TV and transform your trading journey, because when you know better, you invest better. Join us and experience the difference today. TFNN, educating investors.
This program is brought to you by Vista Gold, traded on the NYSE American and TSX under the symbol VGZ.
Welcome back, folks. Get the markets rolling over a bit. S&Ps go red right now, negative by 1 point, 59.32. We just gave up 30 points, though, from where we were at about 8:30 a.m. this morning. NASDAQ off by 7 points right now. Dow off by 33. Russell off by 1. We keep our eye on yields. Higher price, lower yield coming at you right now. You got the 10-year just below 4.4, probably approaching about 4.39% right now in the 10-year. Yeah, up more than a full point from where we were early yesterday morning. You jump over to the dollar, DXY, 177, and gold sitting at about 31.88. We jump over to silver right now, negative by 27 pennies at 32.40. And yeah, so checking this out a little bit further, right? So this is what a zoning map would look like, okay? And you get into it, central's in the middle again. You can do the most near central, okay? You're talking about corridor, commercial, traditional, and then number 2 in there, okay? And for a glimpse, I just had it. Here we go. All right. I'm looking at too much. Here we are. This is the type of action you're talking about on my chart. When you're talking about what you can do in there. And then what they have is they have what's called the activity center. And the activity center is basically with the lines over it. It basically means you're in the heat of the action. You can do even more than some of the zoning dictates. As in both of these pink areas, I'm going to take off the designation. Both of these pink areas, okay, you can see the separation on. And to give you one final glimpse, all right, because I know we're jumping around on this, but you're going to see it happening more often. And this is where you go to for the CRT2, which is what I was just showing you. Here's your CRT2 right on the other side of Central. And then you get CRT1 right across the street from First Ave South. And what that does is you see how you're able to make a simple transition from CRT2, which are these high-rise multifamily homes, to CRT1, which is a mix of multifamily and single-family homes. And then you get down to the actual density of what they allow. Okay, you go from 40 units per an acre down to 24 units per an acre. Still, you're talking about 24 units per an acre, okay? And if you're in the activity center, 60 units per an acre. Now, there's a lot more that goes into this, okay? Floor area ratio, all that stuff. Workforce housing, you can add extra in there if you're allowing workforce. Impervious service, a very important distinction when you're talking about the problems that we have right now in Florida with flooding. St. Pete, right? We all had St. Pete last year, man. Late September, early October, massive flooding. And so the city, rightfully so, is very worried about impervious land and making sure that water has a place to go. But nonetheless, that's going to start happening a lot more in a lot more places. The numbers line it up, and you see why. S&Ps right now, back in the green by 4 points. All right, let's check out some of the biggest equities out there. Apple flat on the session. Amazon gave back some of what we had pre-market. We're all the way up to 207. We're at 205 right now. You're in the red for Amazon. Microsoft shares down by 0.5%. There you go. Look at Google up by 2.5% to 169. Jump to some of the chip equities. NVIDIA slightly in the green, but they get back some of the gains. AMD shares up by 2%. Walmart up by 0.7. And Target up by 0.8% right now. Yeah, Novo down by 3.3% so far this morning. And Take-Two back to flat after their numbers and pushing back Grand Theft Auto. At least they put a date on it, but it's next May. Quite a date. Taking a look at the gold contract. You know, this gold contract, we got volume off the highs. You did it again. Yeah, we did have some nice strength yesterday. The problem is you're reversing everything you had happen. We're trading at 31.84 right now. And this is just a natural consolidation when this thing has doubled in price. Almost from October of 2023, right? 1860 would have put us at 3,700 for a double, but you more than doubled from where we were in October of 2022. And it was an A to B. I mean, folks, these A to B, C to Ds, right? There it is. A to B from 2,000 to 2,800 was a straight line move. You get a slight deceleration. You pull back and you do $800 again and you peak out, and look at how perfect that is. You roll over. Market's got to digest some of these gains in that gold contract. Take a look at silver. It looks nothing like that. We never got that second leg. You accelerated on the February run last year, but silver could not hold its own like gold has in basically the last year. You know, we've had extreme dollar volatility over that time, and gold has held up so well. And you might have a little bit of unwinding going on right now on that action, even with dollar weakness, which is kind of the dicey part. You know, you look at this chart, gold looks a little weak compared to the dollar when you look at that chart of the dollars that it's getting traded in. And this one, yeah, not necessarily market moving, but boy, you know, you think about New York, New Jersey. Is it 350,000? What's the number? It's 325,000 commuters, I think. 925,000 weekday trips. I think that's the number I saw this morning. Nonetheless, New Jersey Transit engineers started striking early Friday. Is that the number? I saw it somewhere. And oh boy, here we go. They make 135 grand a year on average, pulling in up to 200 grand. The union says that's inflated. The average is only making $113,000 a year. Now, if you're talking about an engineer that's running a train network, okay, yeah, that seems like a lofty salary. But nowadays, folks, yeah. Look at all those busy. Look at Penn, Newark. Yeah, Newark. Seems like everything's going haywire in Newark right now, right? The airport, everything. Talked about charter. Yeah, story out here from Amazon. You'll see some headlines of this. And this goes back to, I think, December or January. Yeah, December 16th. They had a couple drones that crashed. Nonetheless, they're just working this out, man. Amazon, now, in 2016, I think it was. Yeah, 2013. Bezos said that he thinks they could be delivering packages with drones in 5 or so years. That was in 2013. Folks, if a CEO of a tech company tells you anything's coming in 5 years, remember that means it's probably not coming for 10 or 15 or 20 or 25, or it might not come. Because 5 years on their horizon, it's theoretical. 26, and we're not even close. They're testing them. Markets back in the green. S&P's up by 7. One more segment, folks. Don't go away. Be right back.
Many trading newsletters attempt to focus on a narrow set of equities or commodities. While this works for some, it oftentimes misses many opportunities that possess huge gain potential. But how is an independent trader supposed to scan the entire market looking for these hidden opportunities? One simple answer: the opening call newsletter. Basil Chapman, developer of the Chapman Wave trading methodology, has been trading the markets for longer than most trading influencers have been alive. And over that time, he has honed his methodology in order to accurately call movements in a wide range of equities, from semiconductors to uranium to key indices and so much more. Basil is old school, taking the time to educate the trader while also giving his insights into key indices, selective stocks, and more. Opening call subscribers also receive access to dozens of educational live streams that can be accessed at any time for your edification. All first-time subscribers receive a 30-day money-back guarantee. So ignore the pop trading influencers and start learning time-tested technical analysis.
Steve Rhodes started his trading career as a student almost 20 years ago, and the student has now become the master. Steve won the prestigious Timer of the Year award in 2018 and barely missed that mark again in 2019, finishing at number 2 for the year. An amazing accomplishment. Steve Rhodes is committed to sharing his techniques and knowledge with anyone who wants to learn, and he shares his vast amount of trading knowledge every day in his Mastering Probability newsletter. Steve's award-winning newsletter, Mastering Probability, is delivered every trading day with updates throughout the afternoon. Sign up for Steve's market newsletter, Mastering Probability, and you'll receive access to 7 of Steve's educational webinars absolutely free. At TFNN, all our newsletters come with a 30-day money-back guarantee, so you have absolutely nothing to worry about. Visit TFNN.com and try Mastering Probability 30 days risk-free today. TFNN, educating investors.
The reality is that navigating financial markets can be risky. Markets can be chaotic and difficult to understand. Having the latest market advice can help you turn this chaos into a key for creating winning trades. At TFNN, we understand that it can be hard to find reliable market news. That's why each of our market experts offers their very own market newsletter, a must-have tool for every trader out there striving to find an edge in today's markets. TFNN newsletters cover every aspect of the markets so you can analyze the market before you trade. Try any of our great newsletters risk-free with our 30-day money-back guarantee. Just visit the Newsletters tab on the front page of TFNN.com. TFNN, educating investors.
Don't forget, you can listen to TFNN live on your mobile device 24 hours per day. Go to TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV. That's TFNN.com, then hit Watch Tiger TV.
Welcome back, folks. S&P is up by about 3 points right now. Going back to that housing deal, okay? And I'm looking at building a multifamily right now, and I had one person say to me recently, and we're looking at the cost. I'm saying, man, at that big cost, I said, at that big cost, I don't know if I can move these units out at the cost that I need to sell them, okay, if I'm going to sell them, without baking in some room for losses, right? Whether you're building a unit, you don't want to pro forma it where you think everything's going to go all right. You're looking to sell apartments at $600,000 to break even, right? And the market might be at $650,000. Well, that's a problem because you know that you can run higher, okay? And I had a person say to me, well, you can definitely rent them out at that cost. I said, man, but that's a problem. If I'm building, I can't sell it. Now, that's a flip-flop because that's a multi-unit, okay, where you're looking at the ability to actually potentially rent it out. But even then, it gets very difficult with where yields are right now. Okay. You look at something like, for instance, what a $750,000 home costs right now. Okay. You're talking about $4,000 for your mortgage, and you're talking about a $5,000 payment. I mean, just you can pull up any mortgage calculator, folks. $750,000. You put 20% down. You do it for 30 years. You're getting 6.78. That's a realistic rate right now. All right. You're paying property taxes. You're paying $1,500 home insurance. Jack that one up to easily $2,500. Okay. $5,200 is your payment all in. $5,200. Even if you take out the other costs. Okay. $4,900. Call it $5,000 to buy a $750,000 home. Folks, I don't know where you're living, but most of the time, the $750,000 homes that you're buying, you cannot rent them out for $5,000 a month. So pay attention to those numbers, man, as you're looking at this market. Doesn't mean they're going to tank, but that's a little bit of a warning when you got prices inflated and you can't rent them out at the money. It's going on in lots of places. Folks, thanks so much for kicking your Friday off. I'll see you back here Monday morning at 9 o'clock. Can't wait. Have a great weekend. Have a great Friday, folks. Thanks so much. And see you on Monday. Thanks, folks.